Michael Lauber.
And I'm Ediline Engmann.
And this is PCNC.
Today, we start off with breaking news coming in from the political center of Damascus of the Umayyad Empire, of the ongoing struggle of maintaining the Umayyads' governmental structure of their Caliphate. Apparently, their Caliphate is increasingly growing weaker and doing nothing to help their society.
Now that sounds incredibly like recent events inflicting the Han China. They don't possess the same political structure as the Umayyad Caliphate, but their political structure, or what is left of it, is also not doing as well. Their insistence on the government policies being set on Confucian ideals and beliefs is not benefiting opposing religions and might lead to religious and rebellions and other sorts of disputes.
That's if the whole power distribution thing doesn't destroy them first.
Power distribution?
Well, bureaucrats close to the emperor are giving too much unofficial power, leading rulers ruling towns or territories far away from the Han capital.
Leaving them to do anything they wanted.
Yes, Michael, resulting in much more problems faced by Han China.
Which makes the Han Dynasty and the Umayyad Dynasty both facing internal family struggles. The Han has provincial lords stemming from individual higher ranks all the way up to the emperor, and the Umayyad's emperor is corrupt itself within the Caliphate.
Having losing their power, just like the Han emperors. Umayyad's Islamic form of government hasn't been quite the same since the Caliph disputes.
The Caliph disputes creating the Shia-Sunni split?
The very same, Michael, which actually comes from a time that political activity was much more involved in the Umayyad Imperium. Now, the political activity is diminishing, which makes me wonder, why does the Umayyad have a political center and China does not?
But if they had unification, why are they struggling?
Well, not all unification plans work. Let's go to weather with Ricky Martinez for more.
Yes, speaking of the Sunni Shiite split, this major religion dispute clearly defined social classes as seen coming from the north here. Just very similar to social weather patterns seen in China, except the Chinese define social classes not nearly as frigid and frosty as the Umayyads define social classes.
Frigid and frosty? Tell us more.
Well, as you can see, the Umayyad social structure is highly defined by religion. The Mawalis in the east are Muslim, like most of the Umayyad dynasty, but are not actually Arab. They are mixing with the Arabs, causing a social whirlwind, if you must.
But isn't that a good thing? Societies combining cultures? Why is it a social whirlwind?
Well, Ediline, I will tell you, the Mawalis are not exactly to be welcomed by the Arabs of the Umayyad dynasty. They were required to pay property taxes and even head taxes in some cases. They were very much being treated as second class.
That couldn't possibly be good.
It was not. This unfair treatment led to rebellions, also contributing to the fall of their imperium.
Well, that's truly awful, Ricky Martinez.
Was China this bad? We spoke of rebellions, but did they treat people that belong to a different religion that badly with property taxes and head taxes?
Well, in a different sort of way. Let's check out China's forecast. Hey, it's me again. China's social whirlwind stamped from the social differences concerning their bureaucracy. Bureaucrats were held to a higher regard than many other social classes. The examination process helped pick the bureaucrats and launch them into highly contrasting social environments.
Well, actually, Ricky Martinez, we have a real-life Han China bureaucrat to speak to us today. Welcome, Jonathan Chong.
Hi, Ediline. It's very nice to be here today. But I prefer to be called as John Chong.
I'm sorry, Mr. John Chong.
Dr. John Chong.
Well, it's very nice to have you here today. So tell us, do you believe as a bureaucrat you have a higher standard of living?
Well, in Ediline, I do see some differences in social classes, but just like the Umayyad dynasty, the elite were entitled to a certain luxury and soft living. It wasn't a bad thing, it was simply something normal for the time.
But both the Umayyad dynasty and the Han dynasty are facing internal problems and are in the face of the end. Do you think that some of this is due to the luxury lifestyle, especially pertaining to the warrior elite?
Well, there is not such a thing as being too relaxed.
I beg to differ, Dr. John. This type of soft living has propelled both the Umayyad and the Han dynasty into a relaxed state, leaving them defenseless on military attack because they are more vulnerable to invasion.
I haven't noticed that. I've only seen peasants revolting. I generally assumed that it was just peasants crying over their unfair advantage. I had no idea it was over careless planning that pulled us into this frenzy.
I'm sorry, Dr. John. We're going to have to stop you right there. You're receiving breaking news concerning sports. Right now, we will have to cut to an incoming sports report from our own sportscaster, Lane Howell.
And I'm Lane Howell with sports.
Hi, I'm Lane, and this is your local newscast. Today we'll be comparing the two best teams to ever play, Han Munich and Real Umayyad. While both teams had an abundance of positives that contributed to their success, they both had many negatives that caused them to have a downfall. Let's start with the Han Munich. They possibly had the most advanced weapons of their time. With improvements of iron casting, they were able to make stronger swords that were more durable. In addition to that, they also made improvements to the traditional crossbow, which made them more accurate and more powerful. Their overwhelming and strong army allowed them to take over areas of Asia, opening trade routes. Once a male commoner turned 23, he was required to go into military training. Training can be done in any of these three branches: infantry, cavalry, or the Navy branch. Once a trainee becomes a soldier, he is assigned to one of the following places: in the king's court, on the frontier, or under the minister of the guards. Males could, however, pay a tax fee to not be sent into the army. This made the army mostly volunteers.
Well, these all sound like great things.
Get to the point, Lane. What military reasons led them to their fall?
Enough of the positives. Let's look at the negatives associated with their downfall. First of all, they had trouble collecting tax money. Many teams be able to buy off nomadic teams, but the Han didn't have the money to do this, so they suffered attacks from the nomadic teams.
But hope wasn't completely lost, right?
Well, in 208 AD, the Battle of Red Cliffs took place. This is arguably the pivotal point in the downfall of the Han. This war was between the southern warlords with star defensive men Liu Bai and Sun Quan against northern warlord and upcoming star Cao Cao. Cao Cao was attempting to reunite the Han team, but failed in a loss to the southern warlords. Let's look at the Umayyad Munich. The negatives contributed with their downfall.
But Lane, tell us about the real Umayyad.
Now here are the negatives of the downfall of real Umayyad. The decline began with the defeat of the Syrian army by the Byzantine Emperor Leo III. Like the Han capital, money was a problem. Warriors were not given money for their hard playing time. On top of that, they were isolated. For better treatment, the last Umayyad, Howell II, was defeated in the Battle of the Great Zab River in 750. Members of the Umayyad were hunted and killed. With the consistent undermined authority, FC Abbasad, especially with the joint help from the Shiites, was the underdog of the Middle East. This meant the end of the Umayyad. In other news, the Warriors are now 24-0. Will they break the record for most consecutive games won? No one knows, but I'd bet my marbles on it.
But first, to a sponsored message.
Post-Classical Antique Shop. I'm James Woods, and here we have lots of antiques. We have this ancient wood for the low price of $19.99. Yeah, so it's pretty great. We also have Taoism and Confucianism antiques. Those are always nice to have. And we have ancient crossbows from the Hans. Those are pretty nifty. And we also have Han currency for the low price of $199.99. So swing on by, and now back to the Post-Classical News Center.
Welcome to Post-Classical News Center for your annual newscast on empires of the past.
I'm Michael Lauber.
And I'm Ediline Engmann. And this is PCNC.
I'm Michael as Anchor 1.
I'm Ediline as Anchor 2.
I'm Lane with sports.
And I'm Ricky with the weather.